All right, chat. So today I figured it would be a good opportunity to talk about some of the Welfare CEs that are available to you now in the DaVinci Workshop that are sort of the recollection craft essences. So these are not your permanent craft essences. These are going to be things that are not necessarily going to like boost your bond level or anything like that. It's not a like account increase. These are actual combat craft essences that have come back to the shop that were old event welfares. Some of them are actually very worth purchasing, and I wanted to highlight a couple of them that I felt like were very strong. And I'm going to talk to you about each of these. Let you guys still make the choice in the end, because your mana prisms can be very valuable to you, especially newer players that maybe don't have a whole lot or are still trying to catch up. So I'm going to give you guys my 2 cents on basically the ones that I think are actually worth your attention and why, and let you guys then determine how do you want to priority order it. Usually for me, there's a couple of things that I look at whenever we're comparing combat craft essences. One, I really like to see all attack scaling on the craft essence. That's going to determine whether or not I want to actually level the craft essence up, which if we're going to be spending 1,000 mana prisms per copy and we want to MLB this, so 5,000 mana prisms for one of these CEs basically to be MLB'd, you're going to want to level it up at that point. So in that regard, there may be some considerations of maybe if you don't have as much of mana prisms at your disposal, maybe you just kind of go with something that actually would be a little bit worth your attention and maybe a little bit of utility that it can provide your account. But one of those right here at the very beginning, we have Decapitating Bunny. This one should already be available to you guys here on NA. And this is maybe one where it's like, hey, if you didn't have an Invuln CE at all, this one's not bad. You could get it all the way MLB and get it scaling all the way up to 2K, and so it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to invest in, but it's also not necessarily even close to the best of the Invuln CEs. This one was kind of a almost like honorable mention include in this regard. There's a couple others that I'm going to say are kind of like this, but I just wanted to bring attention that this is here. You can get an Invuln CE this way. And, you know, even if you just wanted to spend maybe just the 1,000 mana prisms, this would be one thing that you could go ahead and reach out and just get even just a singular copy just to have access to the utility. The next big one is going to be Golden Sumo. This one, again, already out on NA, and this is a very, very good one for a lot of reasons. So there are stronger craft essences in the game than Golden Sumo at boosting damage output. Most of those are going to be focused around things like Noble Phantasm damage. What makes Golden Sumo unique is that it's one of the only craft essences in the game that actually just straight up buffs your attack percentage, which is really, really nice. Now, this is going to be additive with other sources of attack up, so don't think that this is like taking all of your attack combined and then like percentiling it. It's not. But the idea behind this is that this is just something that will impact not only your Noble Phantasm, but also any carding that you do as well, making it a very valuable choice for a lot of people. This is a sort of one-size-fits-all craft essence, and it should be one of the first ones that you consider out of this entire list because of that. Because if you're somebody that maybe doesn't have a whole lot of really good Welfare CEs at your disposal, and you're maybe newer to the game, this craft essence works in every conceivable scenario, so therefore it is a solid option. It may not be the strongest for every scenario, but it will be a decent all-rounder for you guys. It is all attack scaling, and it has 50% starting charge at MLB, making it very worth the 5,000 purchase to get it actually there and potentially invest in it and level it all the way up to 100. Now, just a brief aside, if you've never leveled a craft essence before, it would be bad of me not to mention the fact that there is a proper way to level them, and that way will prevent you from wasting a ton of your QP. So I highly recommend checking out my Craft Essence Bomb guide or anybody else's Craft Essence Bomb guide in that regard, because that will at least save you some QP when you go to level these things up. People make the mistake all the time of just trying to like hard level like 5-star CEs, and it costs a fortune if you do it that way. So please do not do that. Go check out the Craft Essence Bomb guide instead. Next up, we've got his rightful place. This one's maybe not as good as some of the others, but it does exist in a sort of like weird limbo where maybe you need stars per turn, but you also need the unit to be able to get to their Noble Phantasm pretty quickly. So this one is nice because it's an old Welfare CE from basically the original Fate Zero event, and it gives you starting charge and stars per turn. So it gives you the best of those two worlds. It is not a Craft Essence really that you actually want to level up, because it is split stats. You're not going to get a whole lot of benefit. Again, this game is damage meta usually, so it's rare that we'll see Craft Essences that you actually want to invest in that are HP scaling. This one just, again, is probably best left at like level 15 where it'll be when you MLB it. And at least at that point, then you would have that kind of hybrid sort of charge and stars per turn. So it is a tenuous one at best, but it is a decent option if you kind of have the Mana Prisms to spare. Next up, we have sort of the original meta CE in the game. The thing that kind of replaced Golden Sumo as like, this is what you should be running. Holy Night Supper, or Holy Night Dinner as it is called. This one is an all attack scaling CE. You guys can see it. MLB, it has 50% starting charge, critical damage of 15%, and Noble Phantasm damage up of 15%. This is really nice for a couple of reasons. One, this does work for Noble Phantasms and critting as well, not necessarily base carding like Golden Sumo would, but this one's going to provide a lot more scalability. Over time, Noble Phantasm damage had been a rare sort of buff to have in the party. So having something like this meant it usually scaled multiplicatively with other sources of like attack up and card type up that you had. Nowadays, Noble Phantasm up is actually pretty darn common, but it's even more valuable due to the existence of units like Oberon that actually double up any source of NP damage. So if you are running an Oberon, this will, at least in the turn that he uses his third skill on somebody that has this equipped, this would double up this source of NP damage from 15% to 30% for that turn. This makes this a very strong Craft Essence, but even without Oberon, this is sort of just the baseline Craft Essence that every other like high octane, high damage Craft Essence is going to get judged against, because it has been in the game for years, and it is definitely one that is worth having. In fact, we can still make certain arguments for units like quick units where maybe they don't have as good of a stable of Craft Essences, that Holy Night Supper might still be the best CE actually for them. Next up here, we have the Merciless One. This one's a little bit more niche, but this one is sort of like Battle of Camlan on steroids. This one is all attack scaling, though I don't necessarily recommend leveling it all the way up. But what this one's going to do is it's going to grant yourself an Undeath Activate buff that will charge the party's NP gauge by 20% at MLB when the unit is defeated. Also increases Buster performance of the unit by 15%. So this gives at least some combat potential maybe before the unit goes down, but it is going to have the higher cost associated with it, so it's not necessarily like the end-all be-all, but it is a unique variant of the sort of Battle of Camlan charge on defeat type of CEs, and it's one that a lot of people don't have because it was from very early on in the game. Again, it's your choice as to whether or not you wish to spend Mana Prisms on something like this, but it is here and available to you should you so choose. Next up, we have Golden Catches the Carp, or Golden Carp figure here. And this one is another interesting one because this is a starting charge CE, but as opposed to his rightful place where you had starting charge and stars per turn, Golden Catches the Carp will have starting charge and star bomb. This one to me is a little bit more useful and usable because what this means that you can have somebody equipped with a star bomb on entry type of CE. So this can either happen turn one or whenever you rotate the party to bring them in. And then it can also act as a starting charge increment to get somebody to their Noble Phantasm very quickly. So I usually will use something like this far more than his rightful place. and it can be really helpful for, say, rotating a support in, but also getting that same support to their own Noble Phantasm. So I do really like Golden Catches the Carp. This is probably the best Star Bomb option that you guys could go for here. There will be one other in this list, but this one is at least worth your interest. That being said, our next one up here is one that nobody should miss. That is to say, everybody should grab this one eventually, and that is Ox Demon King. This CE is pretty infamous at this point, and JP has actually finally now here in the past year or so released other craft essences that are similar to this in effect, but still not the same. So what does Ox Demon King do that is so strong? It is all attack scaling, and it will, whenever you enter the field for the first time with the unit that has it equipped, just increase the entire party's buster performance at MLB by up to 15%. for 3 turns. So this is effectively like Merlin or Waver's Bond CEs, except Ox Demon King can be put on anyone. Now, their Bond CEs don't expire. The only requirement is that they have to be in the party. Ox Demon King does have a 3-turn limitation, but it is very strong and completely unique in the fact that it is the only CE that can give card type up like this, at least for now. So we'll see in the future if JP starts adding even more of these. Right now, JP added a CE that does the exact same effect, only attack up. We'll see if they start adding the other card type up types of CEs. But still, after years and years and years, this one is unique. And if you were lucky enough to be around for the original event, or even its rerun, you might already have 2 copies of it. This would allow you to potentially get a 3rd. Also, similarly, if you weren't around for those, this will be the only copy that you could get. So again, this is why I say this is one of those ones where everybody should consider getting this one. Whether or not it's the first thing you buy out of the Recollection shop, that is your choice, that is your prerogative, but this will make any buster comps that you do have more damage potential than they otherwise might have had. And it'll only come at the cost of a craft essence on, again, one of your supports. So it is a very, very nice CE. Next up here, we've got Hot Springs of the Moon. This one is another kind of honorable mention to me. It is basically all attack scaling and critical damage up of 25% with stars per turn. Looking at like challenge Cs, maybe Cs where you're going to get drained or like, you just are going to be more focused on the long-term performance rather than the short turn. Be a decent C to put on somebody that's going to be needing to do a lot of critting, maybe not as much Noble Phantasming, but this could at least help facilitate that sort of like star engine and giving them the stars per turn, as well as increasing their crit damage. To me, this one's not nearly as imperative as some of the others, but I would say this is at least a decent option for you. And there will be some like this that I don't mention here. There are other options. If you guys are wondering why maybe some of these get left out, don't worry too much about it. Again, I'll probably say this at the end, but there will be other CEs on the Recollection list that are still worthy of your attention just due to their uniqueness. Take a look at all of the craft essences and you might like what you see. Next up here, we have Traces of Christmas. This one's kind of been a staple for a lot of people for quick looping. And the reason why is because it is all attack scaling, it's starting charge of 50%, and it's quick up of 10%. However, instead of like some of the other Cs that are out there where you would maybe get NP damage up, this one gives you NP generation up. Now, interestingly enough, Quick has a tendency as a card type to greatly benefit if it's trying to loop from NP generation. However, a lot of units might not need it. So wherein is the actual cutoff for where the CE is good? It kind of lives in the realm of, hey, you were better off using this CE if the extra NP generation actually allows you to reach a better charge threshold than you would have otherwise been able to. And therefore it allows, the composition to change, or like what sort of like craft essences or units you're using alongside. So at the end of the day, I think Traces of Christmas is a good CE, but it is not like the best quick CE out there or anything like that, though it is in the running. I think this is just sort of the issue that we have with quick CEs overall. There's a lot of them that are just not like good options, and it's kind of because the devs have hamstrung them a little bit. But still, Traces of Christmas, if you're looking for a good solid 50% charge CE for quick, this one can be very serviceable for you, and definitely one of the better options that is out there. Heavenly Demon Princess is also kind of in a similar situation to Traces of Christmas, where this one is going to be starting charge 50%. It's all attack scaling and NP damage up of 15%, but it'll be 20% extra crit damage on specifically arts cards. So this is sort of like an arts specific variant of Holy Night Supper. It is not a bad seed, it is really good, but Holy Night Supper will work on every card type of unit. Heavenly Demon Princess could be used on every card type of unit, but it will only get that crit benefit on arts cards. So it is a little bit more restrictive. There are other variants kind of like this where it's like, oh, instead it's a buster up. So at the end of the day, this one can be a very good one to pick up for you if you're just looking for another solid 50% starting charge CE with like damage boosting capability, but it is not the best one on this list, and we will get to that one shortly. Watershine was another sort of honorable mention here. If you're just looking for a sure hit CE, this one could be a decent option. It's sure hit, critical damage up, and 4 critical stars per turn at MLB. It is also all attack scaling, but to me, not necessarily the best CE out here, and not something I would necessarily make a priority unless you just desperately needed something like this. This would be another good candidate for like, hey, maybe you spend the 1,000 mana prisms and get just one of it if you're that desperate. I would not necessarily go after MLB. Next up here, we have Ocean Flyer, and Ocean Flyer is going to be one of the best ones that you can get. Unfortunately, this one is one of the more recent additions to the shop. So JP has this NA, it will still be a hot minute before you can get this sort of thing. But Ocean Flyer is very, very solid. It is technically the game's strongest 50% charge arts craft essence at the moment. And the reason why is because it actually has very little arts up and a whole lot of NP damage up. This is sort of the arts variant of the CE cranking or first day of filming, depending on which server you're playing on, where that one has the exact same effects, only 8% buster up instead of 8% arts up. These are sort of the meta CEs at the moment for 50% charge CEs. They are the hardest hitting ones. And again, they are also all attack scaling. So you do get a small amount of the card type of your preference there. You do get NP damage up of 15%, and you do get starting charge of 50%. So this makes it at least as far as Noble Phantasms are concerned, a slightly better Holy Night Supper. And that therein is worth your attention and something that should be considered. As we mentioned before, Holy Night Supper is sort of the baseline. So if it's better than Holy Night Supper, that's a good thing, and you should be paying attention and considering getting it. So again, if you want a really good arts CE with 50% charge, Ocean Flyer, pretty much the best one on the list to date. Next up here, we've got Hide Hunter. Hide Hunter is also sort of an honorable mention. If you're looking for another Star Bomb CE, something that's maybe a little bit more like challenge oriented and performance down the stretch, Hide Hunter is all attack scaling. It does give the 20 crit star bomb in MLB when you enter the field, but it's also going to give you 20% critical damage and 20% NP gain. So you'll kind of be able to keep like doing it, getting back to Noble Phantasms, critting harder. So it is at least an interesting option for those of you guys that like the challenge side of the game a lot more. Hide Hunter could definitely be a really awesome pickup for you, but choice is yours as to whether or not to prioritize this. Aerial Drive at the moment is going to be your best buster 50% CE in this grouping. This will be better than Holy Night Supper for Noble Phantasm damage, but this is not as good as Cranking, which has yet to enter this shop as of the recording of this video. If later on Cranking does enter the shop, it is a better option than Aerial Drive, but Aerial Drive is still a very solid option to have and very good. So I do recommend picking it up if you don't already have it, but maybe you're already somebody like that has Cranking or something like that, so it's less of a priority. But still, you're probably going to want to consider things like the Olga fights down the line, where you do have the restriction as to which craft essences you can use. The more options you give yourself, the better off you'll be. And Aerial Drive is another option in the same vein as like Traces of Christmas and Heavenly Demon Princess can be other options besides just Holy Night Supper, because you're not going to be able to take repeats of craft essences when loading out for things like that. But that is a very niche scenario. It's not something that's going to happen all the time. So again, it's your choice as to whether or not to prioritize stuff like this. And last, but certainly not least, especially for the challenge community that likes to do solos and stuff, Maiden Halloween is the game's best healing craft essence that you can ask for. This is all HP scaling, and in that regard, this is actually a good thing, because what this does at max limit break is this original Halloween CE is going to grant you healing received up by 75%. So every source of healing up while this craft essence is equipped will be increased by 75%. This will work on skills that other people use on you. This will work on noble phantasms that allow the character to heal. This will also work on things like command codes. So this could be very lucrative for doing things like solos. Where this will not necessarily work is this will not work in an environment where you're trying to say like, hey, I've got somebody that does it in an AoE healing noble phantasm. It will heal the unit equipped with this by more. It will not heal other units by that much more. So it's not healing output, it is how much healing specifically the character equipped with this will receive. But still, it is a very, very strong C, and I myself have personally used it to solo things at times. You can load out your command codes to be pretty much an all healing slot and just kind of laugh as you out heal a lot of bosses, assuming you can mitigate their damage in some way, shape, or form. So again, this is a very, very strong C. It's definitely worth your attention, definitely worth your mana prisms if you feel like this is something that you would use. So again, that is my listing of all of these craft essences. And like I said before, about halfway through, they're not all the good craft essences here. These are just some of the better ones that I considered, but there are some unique niche use ones in the recollection CEs that you guys can choose from. So take a look at all of them, and you'll definitely denote that there are a couple more that I did not mention here that may be interesting to you. But at the end of the day, these I think are going to be the best ones that are best worth your attention and your mana prisms. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Is there one that I left out that you think I should have included? Or do you think I kind of hit the nail on the head with these? And again, good luck on your journey through FGO. I hope this helps you guys, and I hope it gives you a priority order at least for how to attack these. Thank you all for watching. I will see you guys for the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Later. Have a good one.